Welcome to GBIRL, the podcast looking at the real business world of esports, gaming, and streaming with the people and personalities behind it all. Here is your host, Bill the Conqueror.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. And if you follow me for any length of time, you know one of my favorite sayings is, this is why esports can't have nice things. And I normally do just like interviews here where I get to know somebody and tell their story because they're interesting. But today we're going to face an issue that is holding back the growth of professional gaming. It's the fact that you have people with a little bit of money and they want to start a professional organization because they see groups like 100 Thieves and they see Cloud9 and they see all these groups and they want to be just like them. And yet somehow, some way, they just one day decide that they're not going to pay their people. And that's really freaking annoying. And I have with me an example of that today. I have Jackson. Jackson, he is the manager of the manager of a professional squad of players who are in the Valorant scene. And he signed with an organization called Mamba Mode Gaming. CEO is Gabe Ren. And that was back in August of 2020. They went to some tournaments, participated in some tournaments, won a little bit of money. When the time came to pay, apparently Gabe decided that he was just going to not pay. So I brought Jackson on to give his side to clarify stuff so that we can all learn from this, because we definitely need to learn from this. There's a couple pieces interesting in this process that we'll get to. So Jackson, thank you for making time for me today.
Of course, it's awesome to be here,
Yeah.
This is something that I think is extremely pressing to just the esports community, and I want everyone to understand everything that goes into it, both parties involved, before it becomes a massive issue later in the line,
Exactly. Okay, so I gave a little bit of background. Why don't you talk about how the team that you manage, how it came together, how you decided to kind of sign with Mamba Mode Gaming, and just sort of some background information to start with. Go ahead.
Okay, so before Mamba Mode and everything, I worked with an organization called Reckless. It was kind of me and some friends. We just started. We had a Valorant roster who competed against MMG one day. They absolutely stomped us as MMG would. And I reached out to Gabe, Mamba, the owner. I was like, hey, listen, I'm really impressed with what you're doing. Just wondering if there's anything, like, basically if I could shadow you, right? Learn from how you do it. Because obviously what he's doing is working. They won that tournament. It's like a weekly. I don't even know if there's like a lot of money involved, but they still won it. And I was like, I'm wanting to learn how to have the same kind of success. So I reached out to him and we did a brief interview. It wasn't even like a interview. It was like, I like what you got. Come work for us. And I was like, okay. I dropped my bags at Reckless, left it with my other owners, and I became the chief of staff at MMG. And I worked there basically for the entirety of the high and the start of the lows.
Okay. So that was back in August of 2020, right?
Yeah. So
Okay.
mid to late August into end of September, I have to say. Yeah, for about a month, 2 months I was there. But I saw literally everything that like has been hit on happen.
So, like, what do you mean?
So first off, there's like a lot of like fishiness like within the organization.
Okay.
So like one big thing that I saw was like you would find players like over like minute, like being 5 to 10 minutes late to a scrim, right?
Okay.
And you would find them enough money, like a bit too high of money. I don't have the exact figures, but I know in a voice chat when he was like doing payments, He was like, okay, well, that's a fine, that's another fine, like just like kind of rattling off these like fine lists in a sense.
Right.
Um, and one thing that I came to realize is that a lot of it was him funding basically himself over again, right? Because everything came from his own personal investments,
Okay.
from from like just everything, like payment for players, entry fees, that kind of stuff. It was all his own cash,
Okay.
and he would justify fines as trying to, go out, buy nicer food or get drinks or stuff in a game. And like that was like one primary example of like the fishiness when it comes to like just like the contracts themselves. But there's like so much more to it, I feel like.
So okay, right there. It's really interesting to me that you bring up the contract
Hmm.
because because I've seen enough of these contracts to know that fines can be fines can be given, rescinded for various things. In your contract, in the various teams' contract, were those behaviors actually lined out, or was it just like just sort of like a like was it something to the effect of two or three sentences of saying basically the player can be fined for a misconduct?
It was like very basic. I feel like the contract was just a very basic entry line kind of respect the organization, right? So if you're under contract with us, you have to say stuff that's going to benefit us, right? You're going
Mm-hmm.
to represent us in a good way when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
practice. You're going to be respectful in it. You're going to be on time. Basically, like in a sense, like a tier one organization contract, right? Is that
Okay.
that's how we fletched it out to be.
Okay.
Um, Going on to the whole where the fines like completely written out in the contract, kind of like there was a very thin line, I have to say.
Okay.
And like I have copies of contracts on my computer, right?
Wow.
And
Okay.
like there were definitely times where it was like you could definitely perceive it as this, but then there was some stuff that was like, yeah, but like that wasn't the most called for fine,
Okay.
I guess. So
Okay. Okay. So okay. So just as kind of a sum it up there, you start in mid August. You start seeing things you don't necessarily agree with, things that seem fishy, fines that don't make sense, things like that. And
mm,
so I guess my question to sort of pull back a bit from that, was this your like I guess your first job in esports where it wasn't something that you built?
I mean, I've worked. I used to be a player before I was a manager.
Okay. Okay.
So like I've played on like a multitude of other teams, but this was definitely the first mainline in a sense,
Okay.
like kind of like one of the more bigger, more established kind of things that I ever worked with.
Got it. Okay. Okay. So this is a very short window here because you said like the middle of August to the end of September. That's like six
Uh-huh.
weeks. I mean, so so we got the fines and the teams start doing well. They start winning
They,
tournaments.
yeah, I'll say this and I'll stand by it.
Go ahead.
I think that the core that MMG had when they won Pulse, the critical Osiris, we did Chase Zek, that core of five, along with performance mental coach Curry and head coach Testy, I think if they would have stayed together in that form, would have been the number one team in NA, right?
Wow.
Like,
Okay.
like I would put that roster at the same level as your TSM and Sentinels, right?
Wow.
And that's an extremely bold claim. But those
Yeah.
kids were Critical's. It just turned 18. I think Osiris is still 17. We
Okay.
did is like it was like a young group of players, right? Like Zek's the oldest. He's 26, and like he's like the veteran player, been in the CS scene
Mm-hmm.
since mid 26, no, earlier than 2016, like 2014 maybe, right?
Wow.
So
Okay.
you have a veteran player with a bunch of young guns with like
Mm-hmm.
kind of your like middle ground in the form of Weeded and Chase, right?
Right.
And like I've worked with like Tessie and Curry on things outside of MMG.
Mm-hmm.
And I think from everyone that I've ever worked with, I have the most faith in them as compared to anyone else. And if you look at Critical, right, after he left MMG, he went to BBG, Built by Gamers. and he's doing outstandingly, right?
All right.
What we did is one of the most, like, as far as content goes, extremely, like, growing players as far as like individual skill,
Right.
consistently going up. Osias, I haven't seen too much with him on his new team Mystify after he was released from MMG,
Okay.
mainly just because Mystify hasn't played in a lot of tier 1 level tournaments like BBG and
Right.
XSET, right?
Okay.
But I mean, I know orgs that have looked at him. I know like the teams that he's trialed with. Like he is a great individual player. Chase and Zek, they are mainly Zek have such a resume of just accomplishments
Okay.
that if you were to combine everything, if everything stayed the same, they would have been the best team. I will stand by that 100%.
Okay. So this team is obviously very talented. They won some
Uh-huh.
money. They won some tournaments. I believe in your.
Mhm.
I believe in your twit longer. You
Mhm.
stated that combining salary and tournament winnings, the team was owed like $3,500. Is that correct?
Well, so one thing that I have to say is, but before that, it kind of goes into like that 3,500 figurehead.
Sure.
Pulse, the 10K that they like the first 10K that they won,
Mm-hmm.
and I think to this date this only, if I'm not mistaken,
Okay.
Pulse never paid out their players, right?
Okay.
So teams like MMG, Luminosity, I think came in second. None of those teams have been paid out yet.
Wow.
So
Okay.
what Gabe did is when he got the money, like when they team won, he paid them out without money in hand, right?
Okay.
So knowing that he never got any of that money, he like basically not threw away, but he went down money with nothing to back it up, right?
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Um and then another thing, I know the contracts of some of those players, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that money is because like they were gone for 2 weeks. They get paid bi-weekly, and the
Okay.
amount of money, I feel like that 3 to 5 isn't the full of it. Because then you have to talk about paying your coaches, paying your
Mm-hmm.
chief of staff, your let's see, like your head
Mm-hmm.
content staff, like all that stuff. I I firmly believe that that 3 to 5 figure may be a bit shorter than what it actually is.
Okay. Okay. So okay. So that piece right there is really important to note because you're saying that they won Pulse.
Mhm.
Pulse never
No,
paid
no.
out. Pulse
Mm.
as of today. So today is January 5th, and if Pulse does end up paying, I want to make sure we say that. As of today, January 5th, Pulse hasn't paid people out. So Gabe went in the hole to make sure that things were paid out.
Yeah.
So
And
go ahead. Go
one
ahead.
thing that I will say, because I feel like a lot of people are going to give Gabe slander for everything that's happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't completely, I understand why, right?
Okay.
One thing that I have to say is he's not a completely awful person when he comes, like, so he's done some pretty bad things recently as
Okay.
far as like how he's treated the org. He's definitely done some stuff though, such as that, where I would say that that is definitely one of the nicest things I've seen someone in the esports scene do.
Okay.
It
Good.
was
Okay.
knowing that he like when you do a tournament, right? You have no idea, like when it's a new kind of company, like
Mm-hmm.
Pulse, for example, right? You have no idea how reliable they are because this is their first major tournament.
Okay.
He had no idea when the money would come in, if the money would come in. He had hopes. He had very happy hopes.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And he did it
Okay.
knowing that there's a chance he may never get the money. He still put that money out, right?
Okay.
Obviously, he wanted that money back, but he still did it with that chance. And that I'm going to give him credit for that because
Okay.
that's something that I don't even know if I could do because of the
Right.
like the logistics to it.
And then, okay, that right there is an interesting point. That speaks directly to the character of a person when
Mhm.
they meet their commitments without any guarantee on their end. So the guys win this tournament.
Mhm.
It's a new tournament, and we all know that tournament organizers sometimes wait 6 months, 24 months to pay people out, and they really only
Mhm.
end up paying because somebody says something on Twitter sometimes. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I'm not here to trash anybody. I just want
Mhm.
facts and the truth. And I think that point right there that you just brought up is very important to note. Okay, so that happens. Pulse still hasn't paid. Gabe pays you. So at what point do you then decide, holy crap, this good thing happened, but now all of these other things that maybe suspect, fishy, under the table don't feel right. At what point do those things kind of pile up and you realize we can't stay?
For me, it happened super, like literally my first day, right?
Wow. Okay.
That's a bit of an overstatement.
Okay.
There was stuff that happened on the first day that I would definitely put as weird or like, oh, why did you do this kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
But not like to the same level as some of the other people's experience.
Okay.
So
Okay.
when I came in, because I've had to run Reckless by myself, right? Or not by myself, but predominantly me with the help of some friends and other people I've met along the way, right?
Okay.
So I was in charge of content for a while until one of my good friends picked up with that. Managing players, getting the tournament, like everything that you could think of for an organization standpoint,
Right.
I was doing. So I came into a meeting with him and I was like, listen, I can do essentially anything you ask of me, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
give me the chance to show myself. And on the first day, he gave me that chance. He said, find a list because they wanted to expand to content creators, and they're not shy of admitting that they've been wanting to for as long as I can remember, right?
Okay.
So he was like, okay, find me a list of content creators. Find me. They wanted Valorant, Smash, Rocket League, and Variety, right? Like those four genres of like gamers
Mm-hmm.
or streamers, I should say, to find. I got him a list, and that was done like in the first day, right? And it was a list of like I want to say like 12 to 20 streamers,
Okay.
right? So he has that list, all good, right? Next day, he comes up to me, he's like, hey, this is right around their Arena tournament, the tournament that they hosted at the end of October. Yes.
Okay.
Or not October, August. I mean, he comes to me and is like, hey, I'm gonna put a bit more trust into you. Can you find me? They wanted like a producer or like a production staff, so someone who would like handle the Twitch stream stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, casters, observers, and like all that kind of stuff, right? And I did it. I found their who was at the time their head of production or like their lead producer, Kha'Zix. Kha'Zix made jump. Lawrence, great person, love the dude. Um, I found I didn't find a lot of casters. I found a lot of potential casters, but they didn't eventually make the cut. And observers, he had one that would come in, Reynolds from Allied Esports, right?
Okay.
So like I found him like that, right? And this was on, I think the tournament took place on Sunday. Yeah. And this was all on a Saturday, or it was Saturday and this all took place on a Friday, right? The day before. The night before the tournament, he texted me and he's like, hey, we're gonna need help with this tournament. Can you come in and be our basically production head, like getting people into chat, relaying it like or into the like call to do interviews,
Mm-hmm.
relaying information to like the art department, like doing everything that we need for the stream, for Twitter, for our sponsors to make it look pretty.
Mm-hmm.
This is the night before, right? Like at the time, I was gonna go hang out with my girlfriend, and I was like, "Listen, like this is a big opportunity for me. Like I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, it wasn't any important date because that would be horrible if I were to do that." But
Yeah.
I just texted her and I was like, "Hey, listen, I'm gonna do this. This is gonna be great for me if it goes well." Um, and she was completely understanding, right? She
Okay.
completely supports this,
Good.
so I did it. And it was fine, right? Up until the last like 2 to 3 hours, I want to say, right? So, uh, Gabe throughout the period of it had been drinking seltzers, right? And if anybody here has watched it, or if you've gone back and watched the clips, we had three different casters: Gabe, Riley J, and Upmind. Right? Upmind was the third. Gabe passed out in the middle of the tournament, and then that's why we had to bring in Upmind, right?
Okay.
So day three, well, first off, the whole suspicious thing to me was the consistent switching task with more and more urgency, right?
Okay.
And then it was the whole passing out while doing a tournament that he's hosting with his own sponsors who are funneling in their own money. And we had an English and Russian stream.
Okay.
So you have two different languages, just like two different set of talents because you
Mm-hmm.
obviously need to accommodate for them. And then you have other people's money. Like if it was his money on the line, oh well, so what? I would have cast it if we needed it, right?
Right.
But it was other people's money, and that
Hmm.
I was like,
Okay.
okay, that's like that's kind of weird. I don't because one, I didn't know it was possible for someone to drink that much seltzer in one period of time. especially since I knew that the dude was also chugging down water. And 2, I was like, you're just gonna do this in front of, I think we were averaging like 100 something viewers, right?
Interesting. Okay,
So,
so
so
hold on. When you say seltzer, you're talking alcohol, right?
yeah, like White Claw. I think he was actually just drinking White Claw, just
Okay.
pure.
Okay.
I don't know what flavor, but he was just drinking White Claw.
Okay. So um so for you now that this is so I listened to everything. This person's throwing a bunch of tasks at you, putting a bunch of pressure on you.
Hmm.
Do you think that you responded to it because do you think you responded to it positively because of your passion for gaming, and like you said, you realized this was a really good opportunity for yourself, and if
Hmm.
you pulled it off, you could probably turn that into something else. So, I mean, what it sounds like to me was that this was a this was a big lesson learned for you.
So I mean, going on to the whole like how this is like to this day, the opportunities that Gabe has given me through just namesake alone, still to this day is carrying over, right?
Okay.
Uh, so he's definitely provided me opportunities that I'm extremely thankful for, right? Another thing is I kind of put up with it because at the time I was like super new to the higher up kind of scene, right? At the time they were just on their way to becoming a tier 1 org
Mm-hmm.
or tier 1 team. And like I was like, okay, like so what, there's a rough patch, right? Like the grass is always gonna be greener the next day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's always gonna, that was a mixture of two metaphors. I'm sorry
It
about
was.
that.
That's okay. No worries.
But there's gonna be a bright spot someday. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be rough these first 3 days, and I kind of expected it to be rough on my end because I was so new to, like, I was new to the organization, new to the
Mm-hmm.
people, trying to learn anything. I was trialing for the chief of staff role, which is his literal right hand man,
Okay.
right? And so like I knew it was gonna be rough. The and I was fine with like the new work and like the urgency and that kind of stuff. It was just weird, the whole passing out thing. And I think a big part of why all this stuff I was able to deal with is A, I have the experience in doing stuff,
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of stuff in a short period of time.
Right.
And 2, it's just like I love esports. I've literally loved esports. I'm in my last year of high school right now. I've been passionate about it since the old Black Ops 2 Optic days, right? So
Okay.
for a while now. So I figured this is my step into doing what I want to do forever, and I'll do it. Like I'll put up with it. It's whatever.
So okay, and I want to say this based upon the perspective that I have as somebody who's older, who has worked in gaming organizations and who has worked in a more corporate setting, is that I listened to everything that you just said about Gabe. I listened to him put pressure on you to get instant results super fast, and you did it. And then you said he's slamming White Claw on stream in front of sponsors, passes out.
Hmm.
I guess, I mean, I can understand you wanting to be involved. And I'm just saying, from my point of view, looking is from what you've told me, and I'm open to being wrong when more information presents itself. But this comes off as somebody who is a sorry, this is extremely frustrating for me because
Oh no,
I
you're fine.
I think that you were taken advantage of because of your age. I really do. Whether
I
or
mean,
n- whether or sorry, whether or not you got something out of it because of somebody's name attached to you, you were taken advantage of because of your age and enthusiasm. And this person then abdicated his stewardship of the org by passing out on stream after slamming White Claw. I this 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 story speaks directly to everything that people hate about hate hate about professional gaming: high stress, really poor leadership, really an overall lack of a maturity. Because somebody who is a professional does not put their sponsors in a bad light by getting stone drunk on White Claw on a freaking live stream. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's definitely like when you like it was definitely one of the more like I ran my own stuff and I
Right.
told Chicky, who was the content creator who eventually I brought into MMG. I told her I was like, this is kind of more scuffed than when I was doing my own thing, right?
Okay.
And I will say this: Gabe did a lot of questionable things, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, I think he did a lot of also very good things for everybody in
Okay.
the organization.
Okay.
Did he do a lot of questionable, and I mean a lot of questionable stuff? Yeah, okay.
Okay.
But again, think he's in my opinion, not the worst kind of person, right?
Okay. So.
Business owner, I definitely wouldn't put him at my top 10 list.
Okay.
But as far as like someone who's definitely smart in the brain,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he's pretty dang smart as far as on the business side of things.
Okay.
Execution, not at all though.
Okay. So let me ask you this question.
Hmm.
It sounds like to other people, he represented you and the and other people that worked for him as, hey, these are good people. They're smart. They know what they're doing. They've done good work. But then to you, to your face, was he overbearing, demanding, acting like a tyrant? You know, like, get this done, get it done now. Here's what I want. Oh, and here's 5 new things that I need done in the next 10 minutes.
So
Whoa.
funniest thing
Go
about
ahead.
that, so
Go ahead.
he hammered me with a lot of responsibilities at the very start, right?
Okay.
And when I got the position, I was very limited as to what I was doing, right?
Okay.
He brought me in as basically a chief of staff, and I like read articles, books, essays, like all this kind of stuff on the individual responsibilities of a chief of staff personnel.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like setting up meetings, taking notes in
Mm-hmm.
meetings, setting up like talking to sponsors, like basically everything just to save him time and then let him do the final touches, right? When I was working there, I was in charge of onboarding new staff and players. So basically getting like their email addresses, setting them up with like the Google Calendar, Google documents that they needed,
Mm-hmm.
any type of files that they needed, stuff like that. And then alongside, I would like have to tell people on a nightly routine what they had for the next day, which in my opinion, all the players, and I make sure of this, all the players and staff had access to a Google Calendar, and I think to this day I still have access to the calendar despite the fact that I'm removed from the org. Um, but all the players had access to a Google Calendar, and I think it was just kind of weird that I had to go in and tell people what was on the calendar, in my opinion, because if it's your job, like people are getting paid doing this. I don't know why you had to tell somebody to tell people what's on something that's already there. I think that's weird. But those were basically my only 2 duties, was onboarding people and reminding them what they had the next day.
So okay, this whole situation's really gotten taken some turns. So we have this kind of a mercurial owner, CEO, founder. He has the money and connections. He brings in you, young, enthusiastic, organized, a little bit of experience, and he shoves all this on you.
And then yeah, so it basically went from my trial phase, the 3-day period was harder than everything that I had to do for the rest of that organization combined.
Okay, so that was your first 3 days. Get this stuff done. So basically, it was a stress test, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would put it as a stress test. Yeah.
Okay. So you pass your stress test with flying colors. You do well.
Hmm.
So after the 3rd day, what happens?
I talked to him. So the 3rd day is the tournament day, right? So the day that the tournament goes live,
Okay.
and I knew he wasn't awake, so I kind of gave it a day, or I think I gave him 2 days, right?
Okay.
So let's just say it happened on a Saturday. I don't know, Sunday, Saturday, one of the two.
Okay.
I contacted him on Tuesday, right? 2
Mm-hmm.
days later. I was like, "Hey, listen, just wondering, like, did I make it in? Like, am I in? What's up? Like, do you want more from me? Like that kind of stuff." And he was like, "No, like, I really." We did this over a call. First off, I asked him if we could call, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then from that, we talked, and that's where we had that conversation. He's like, "I want you as my chief of staff. You're in." It's like, "Okay, I'll gladly take this job." The first thing that he does after I get officially anointed as his chief of staff
Okay.
is start asking me finance questions because of the hardships of the finances, I guess you can say. So, first and foremost, he asked, this is what he says. After like a 3 to 4 second like break in talking, he goes, "So I have this issue, right?" And I'm like, "Okay, what's the issue? Lay it on me." And he was like, I have to increase our players' salaries," and I think it was like, I don't know the amount of money that he increased, but it was a
Mm-hmm.
individual wasn't a lot, but when you combine everybody,
Right. Right.
it's
Right. Right.
kind of a substantial increase.
Yep.
And he was like, and I already like promised them to the players, what do I do? And I was like, I mean, kind of gave me a list of options. Like, I already promised the players the stuff. It was kind of like a performance bonus, so he could get away with it, like not being in the contracts, right?
Okay.
I was like, I promised the players money starting this month. It was starting September was the pay raise.
Okay.
Um, and I don't like we haven't basically had enough success to not success to warrant it, but there's so much like that we didn't achieve that the 300 or however much, I think it was like 300 a player, was like we wouldn't do it. It'd make no sense. And basically the idea that we came up on was cut funding from like certain staffers, like tell them that you need to take money and or not pay them for the period of time and allocate that money to the players. Because at the time, uh, the original roster of MMG, the Chase, Zek, Infamous, Adam Stone, uh, like Critical, and somebody else. I don't remember who the fifth. I think it was like Papa Max or whatever his name is. Right? FaZe had been, as far as I'm aware, from talking to Adam Stone, Infamous, was that FaZe was interested in picking them up in a similar fashion to how 100 Thieves has the Mob, where it's kind of like a more content-based group, but under professional Valorant. So it'd be like a Phase 5 academy with the focus on content creation. And none of the players went. They wanted to go, but they realized if they wanted to go big, MMG was like, if they wanted to show that they were better than an academy, MMG's where they stayed. Safe money was FaZe, right? All the players stayed. And a lot of that was because they trusted Mamba. And this isn't a fact, but I firmly believe that the big reason why is because Gabe was allocating money away from staff and putting it into uh player budgets, basically giving them pay raises when they don't need it. They didn't deserve it. Now, I love Chase, I love Infamous, I love Zach, right? Like they're all great people. I love talking to them. Me and Zach just talked yesterday, right? Or 2 days ago.
Okay.
And I at the time, I don't think they deserve that kind of money. Let it be when it was the face situation, let it be when it was the basically asking me what to do situation. They didn't deserve it. I believe that they were good, not enough to take money from your content creators, your managers, like that kind of stuff. So first day official, he hits me with that question though: is what do I do when I made a promise to my players to pay them more? Is the very first thing that he does.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Okay. Hold up right there. I want so that sequence right there. There's a lot to unpack. So just hold on a second.
mhm,
So you're saying to me, and this is me from the outside. I'm not in the Valorant scene. I don't know names. I don't know a ton about it.
mhm.
But I understand how businesses work. I've been involved in a couple of organizations. I've talked to some owners, and I have a good understanding of how someone should be a leader. So, you basically have a 3-day job interview where he runs you into the ground. Then you wait 2 days to find out if you have a job, which, let me just say this. Your 3-day quote-unquote interview is exactly the same thing as asking a software developer to come up with an app and bug fixes for a product just to get them a job. Either you have the job or you don't. And I was listening to you talk about your 3-day interview, and I'm like shaking my head going, you cannot be serious. Running this kid into the freaking ground to prove he can do it? I'm sorry. Okay. Then
No, you're completely fine.
Then you're in, quote unquote, you're in 2 days later because they have to sleep off the hangover. Okay. 2 days later,
Well,
hey, go ahead.
I don't know if he was sleeping off the hangover. I gave him that one day just because I know he had water, but I don't know I knew he had to talk to other people regarding other sponsorship opportunities. So I gave him that one day to do that. That second day, I kind of hit him in the middle of the day. So it's a day and a half really to be exact, or 36 hours.
Okay, but the fact that you had to talk to him, he didn't send you a Discord DM. Hey, I have some things going on Monday. Let's chat on Tuesday. He didn't do that. So what you're saying is you had to, is it he brought you in to do something for a job interview, then you had to go to him to find out if, do I have the job or not?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then he starts asking you about finance questions, about how he's going to pay people that he promised raises to. Okay. The old man in me, the old man, get off my lawn feeling is about ready to come out right now.
No, I can understand why. Don't worry about that.
I'm just like, okay, I'm trying to process this a little bit at a time, because if I wait and hear the whole thing through, I'm gonna throw something. Okay, so then he starts asking you finance questions. How am I gonna give money to people that I promised when we don't have it? But he just ran a tournament with the sponsors, and all right. So we're now at the point where he's asking you finance questions on the first official day that you've worked, right?
And I'm in the DMs right now, and a lot of it's when we work best with you, and then they had a tournament. It wasn't the E-Arena. I think it was day one of Pulse, maybe, because I know Pulse was on the 29th, and it was a week-long thing, I think.
Okay.
But I was like, when we're working, he's like, okay, 12:30, or let's see, where's the start of it? Momento. It's we're on the Esports Arena stream, and then it's talking about all that kind of stuff. And then let's see, this is 2 days later, right? So whenever we make contact, we do all that stuff. This is 2 full days later. And he's kind of telling me all the new stuff is what happens, just to give you a proper timeline.
Okay, so you have the stream, and then 2 days afterwards, he's tossing finance questions at you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so from that point right there, I mean that, I don't know, you're not even a week in, and you want to be involved in the heart of professional gaming, and you want to be seen as somebody who gets stuff done, who's trustworthy. So was there a point in this process, in these first couple of days, where you're like, what is going on?
Honestly, I can't remember. I know that I was super excited because Mamba Mode at the time was on their come up, right?
Okay.
And I was even getting it being known, because in the esports scene, a lot of it's who you know and or what your resume can even say about you, right?
Right.
So if I have on my resume that I was trialing with them, and especially at a high position like chief of staff, the doors I would open simply off of that, yeah, it wouldn't be as good as I have it today, right? But the opportunities would be present, to say the least, because
Okay.
it's something like that.
Okay. Got it. Okay. So finance questions after the stream, and then what?
So I mean, everything goes like smooth sailing. As I said, I really only had a few like jobs, I guess you could say, the onboarding and
Okay.
the like daily notification thing, right?
Right.
And I I kind of don't like having like downtime in a sense, right?
Okay.
Like if I have it, like I'm just yeah, I'll watch YouTube, I'll watch TV, like whatever, right?
Okay.
But I like to keep myself busy. And so one thing that I would continuously ask him is, what can I do to help? Or what more do you want from me? Or something like that. Like
Okay.
I was like on the brink of like, I'll do, in a sense, anything you can think of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just let me do more, let me get the experience. Because it was also an experiencing that I needed. Because at the time I was barely 17 and a half, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that esports is a continuously fluctuating field as far as what everybody does, what games are hot, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
The more experience I can get, the better. And that's all I wanted, was just that experience. I was constantly asking about how to get it, and I was just consistently given the, oh, just stay what you're doing, kind of like, you're doing good, just do what you're doing, and then like eventually it'll come to you, kind of thing.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Okay.
and then just to go like a bit deeper into it,
Mm-hmm.
he would also be, in a sense, kind of upset if I did it all. Not because there wasn't a lot, right? So you give a person not a lot of work, and because of that, he kind of like to operate in the thing of, if you're doing work, you are in a Discord call in the server, right? It's kind of like if you're at a cubicle job,
Mm-hmm.
you are in the cubicle when you do work, right? And when you aren't doing work, you're not in the cubicle. Um, and because I didn't have a whole lot of work, I was never in that quote unquote cubicle. I was always with my friends playing games or watching TV or like whatever I was doing, right?
Okay.
So he would see that and he would be like, "Well, you aren't," because I wasn't devoting enough time, I guess, right? It was a time thing. Considered it lazy, and said that a few times. It's just the word lazy.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute.
Mhm.
So you finish your tournament, it's over, and then he starts says, "Okay, I want you to handle these two things." You're like, "Okay." And then you're asking, "Can I do more? Can I do more? Can I do more?" And he says, "Just wait until it's sent your way." And then he calls you lazy cuz you're not in the
Yeah,
Discord.
yes. We one of
Oh,
the
oh my
few days before I was resigned, me and him got into a altercation because basically, as a chief of staff, I was in charge with the onboarding and removal of like perms and all that kind of stuff from
Mhm.
other staffers, right?
Right?
And we had a manager for the Valorant rosters, and it was Resky, who is a very, in my opinion, a very nice person to know.
Okay.
Very, very warming, right?
Mhm.
And he talked to me one day, uh, and he was like, "Yo, Mamba just said that me and you are on like the chopping block. Like that's what he said, was the chopping block, right?" And I was like, "Okay, like it's whatever." So I messaged one of my friends, the head coach at the time. He said that he didn't hear it, but he also wasn't there, and I was like, "Okay, like it's it. If it is like, if I am, I guess it's my time to go, right? Like I'll do what I can to prevent it, but I'm not like uber stressed about it." 2, 3 days later, he gets released. The manager, right? He just gets released from the organization, and he texted me. And he's like, "Hey, did you know that I was getting released?" And I was like, "No, not at all. Like I had no idea about it." So I messaged Gabe, and I mean, I can read the DMs word for word. I just have to find them.
Okay,
But
find him. I'm going to tell you right now, young man,
mhm.
from what you're telling me, and I'm going to frame it that way. From what you're telling me, this individual, Gabe, is gaslighting you. He's freaking gaslighting you. What this serious. See, and people laugh at me when I rant about this stuff, but this is why esports can't have nice things. Crap like this. And so, Gabe, if you're out there, if you happen to listen to this, come on my podcast and tell me what's going on here. Because this is a pile of garbage. Why are you treating people this way? Please explain it. I would love nothing more than to hear your side of this. If you end up listening to this podcast and hearing what is being said, and you're listening to me right now, getting pretty pissed off, listening to you take advantage of this young man, I want to hear your side. I really do. Tell me that my frustration is not in the right spot. I want you to tell me that. Okay, Gabe, if you're listening, I want you to tell me that, please. Okay, Jackson, go ahead. Go ahead.
So yeah, so I found the DMs.
Go for it.
I was like, hey, I was just informed that Rescue is no longer with the team. Just curious why I wasn't told anything earlier, given a slight heads up since I am the chief of staff, since he is a staff. I mean, I understand why you do the things you do, right? I mean, the performance at the time with him wasn't the best as a manager, right? Like the quality of practice wasn't the best. I can understand like the removal of him. And I said, but I feel like I shouldn't be left in the dark when it comes to getting a new GM when we just picked up Creed, who I think is Creed. If Creed's listening to this, Creed, I think you're an awesome person. I'm very happy that you have so many good opportunities. Just want to say that now.
Okay.
And I was like, but I feel like I shouldn't be left in the dark when it comes to getting a new GM and dropping a manager. And he was like, yo, yes, you should be looped in as chief of staff, but I haven't seen you around in a while because I haven't had much obligations and I wasn't there as I described earlier. And this is all time sensitive stuff. I said, I understand it's time sensitive stuff, but I should also be told, hey, we're making staff changes. Wanting to let you know that X is out, Y is in. And then I said, look at it like you are me. How am I going to know anything that helps you prepare for the future if I don't know anything? My role is to help you prepare for the future. Let it be the next day, week, month, whatever. I can't help you with anything if I'm not filled in on time sensitive stuff. And then
Right.
he kind of just goes, in meetings, we'll respond later, right?
Okay.
And then this is 9:30, right? So September 30th.
Okay.
I sent him a link to a qualifier for the Renegades X NRG when they did their like 2500 pool, right?
Right.
And I sent him to him, and then nothing, right? So the last thing I hear from him up until a point is, we'll respond to this when I have time.
Okay.
And I said, like this is Discord doesn't show me the times right now, but I'm like, I'm gonna grind out the rest of this like game I'm playing. When you're done, message me or pull me into another channel. Like, let's talk, right?
Okay.
I was in a voice chat actively waiting.
Okay.
And he was like, hey, and he was like, sure thing. I was like, hey, are we still having that meeting? Yes. Do you have an ETA on when it will happen? 10 minutes. Okay. So he pulls me into the server, right? And I kind of complain a bit also in those DMs, is I complain about the lack of stuff that I do, right? And I can read that for you as well. A pretext. We had a meeting with the MDA guys, the people who did the telethon with Kevin Hart, the charity.
Okay.
And he wasn't at the computer because he had like a real life personal issue, right? But he didn't tell us that beforehand. But it was like an actual like family emergency. I'm not going to disclose it right now.
Yeah. That's
But
fine.
so
That's fine.
I can understand why. I was like, another big thing, but I don't feel like your chief of staff. I feel like a secretary. I get told the bare minimum. It seems like we hardly communicate on what is wanted. You really haven't looped me into a lot of things, other than the MDA stuff, which I had to do because he wasn't there. I really haven't gotten the chance to sit down in a meeting with you and learn. I came here solely to get experience and potential pay, and if I'm to be completely honest, it feels as if I'm not getting the experience I came here for. I came to learn, and all I've really learned how to do is onboard someone and basic meeting etiquette, right? So we have the meeting, and he, to my surprise, he assigned Creed, who used to work at Energy Esports, underneath Jamie, I think is her chief of staff / general manager, right? And he asked him, and it was like, what does a chief of staff do? And it was a bucket list full of things, right? Like some of the stuff that I expected myself to do. And in that was also the onboarding people and making sure everybody knew what's happening, right? And he chose to hammer in those 2 points because I'm technically doing what a chief of staff does. It's just there was and some of it you also have to separate because he was 2 roles at once, GM and chief of staff. So you just say split down the middle. 9 things, I was only doing 2 of those 9 things, right? I wanted if not the other 4. Like I want 4.
Sure.
4 things total, 2 extra new things, right?
Okay.
So we hop in a call and he kind of like talks about it, right? And we're talking and he's hammering in those 2 points. And I'm basically on the thing of I want to improve. I want to work. Like I want to be a net positive.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be a reason for success. I don't want to be a background character. I want to be a guy, right? I want to be a person. I want to be a notable person, not as an ego thing, but as
Right.
a
Right.
I need someone who can do the job. I've heard good things about him. I want him,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. Got it. Got it.
And so we're talking, and like there was just like a big like argument, and one of my friends, Cad, who later became the chief of staff after I was fired, um, he was pulled into the voice chat because he also had a meeting with Mamba, and he came in to basically a slur of like laziness, like all that kind of just everything along that line, right? And I could tell before this, Gabe was already mad, so not entirely like gonna forgive him for that, but I can understand why things came out all at once. But at one point, I mentioned the rescue thing, right? And he was like, the rescuing the chopping block thing. I was like, oh, where'd you hear that? And I was like, oh, Rescue told me. And he was like, oh, doesn't surprise me that the two useless people were talking to each other like that. And I was like, well, I mean, okay, cool.
Okay.
I don't know how to reply to that, so I'm
Okay.
just.
Okay. 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 All right.
Mhm.
So let me just stop right there and say, young man, you are wise and mature beyond your years, and I want you to be insanely successful in whatever you do. If it's gaming, that. If it's something else, that too.
Thank you, thank you.
Like I said, the old man get off my lawn feeling is really bubbling up right now. Gabe, I swear to God, if you're out there, please come on, please. I want to hear what you have to say about this, because I hope you're watching, because I'm looking right at the camera right now. I'm gonna say, based upon what Jackson's telling me, you're a horrible leader. You're a horrible leader, and you are the reason why esports is stuck where it's at, because of people like you. And I would love for you to prove me wrong. Come on my show, and we'll argue till the cows come home, because this is unacceptable. This is wholly unacceptable. Your behavior. You don't treat the people under you like this way. You don't call them lazy after they ask for more work. I really hope that you want to come on and talk to me, because this is I want to be wrong about this. I really want to be wrong about this. Okay, so all this stuff happens. Argument happens. So does he fire you right then?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I could tell I was on the rocks, so I opened myself up to opportunities. And I told him, like, I was respectful about it. I was like, hey, listen, I'm gonna look for opportunities. I'm still gonna like put my time into MMG,
Mm-hmm.
but I also just want I kind of put it as I want a side project. I want something that I can do,
Mm-hmm.
just completely separate from you guys, just something that benefits me, kind of a
Mm-hmm.
dual learning type of system. And he was completely supportive of it, right? He Gabe as a person, right? I know I'm describing a lot of the negatives.
Mm-hmm.
If you told him you wanted to do something, he kind of acted as one of your fans. He was in a sense one of your biggest startup fans. He wanted the success from you. He was always open to telling you, hey, if you're doing Valorant, like I can get you connections with people, like all this kind of stuff. Like he was always stepping out there to help you, which I know I'm talking a lot about on him,
Mm-hmm.
but he is a genuinely decent human being, right?
But
I'll be honest.
wait. Someone does not get to treat you like trash to your face, and then to make up for it, he says nice things about you to someone else.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. It's weird, but
that is.
it's complexing to me too.
It doesn't.
But
That is not how leaders operate. Okay, that's not how it works. That's not how somebody in charge should treat the people under them. You don't get to treat your staff like crap and then talk nice about them to someone else, because it doesn't justify your behavior to the individual. Just because somebody somebody thinks that you do a good job and tells someone else, but then yells at you for being lazy. That's such a pile of crap. Okay, all right. Okay, so you want a side project? Has he paid you at all?
I mean, like, it was a lot of me and a lot of like the other staffers, like the newer staff, we were given like performance incentives. So like I was basically given gifts in a sense of a performance incentive, but it was never a I make X amount a month, right? It was always say, if you do good work, good things come. If you don't, you don't get the good things.
So, okay,
And
okay, okay,
so,
okay, okay. That's also a gigantic pile of crap. Because what is good work one day, so for example, he gives you a 3-day stress test, loves the crap out of you, brings it on. That's good work. And then 2 days after you talk to him, you're being told, be patient, we'll get you work, just wait till it comes. And then he calls you lazy.
it's
Okay. This is not how you run business. Oh boy.
not
Okay.
at all.
So
Not at all.
so he doesn't pay you money. He pays you with gifts because you do good
Like
work.
yeah, like incentives. So like my friend Cad, he got like at one point I think it was like a $25 like just kind of like a here's $25 like because you did good, right? And like yeah,
$25. That okay,
yeah.
so even if you're making $12.50 an hour working at McDonald's, which is a reasonable hourly rate, that's 2
Mhm.
hours of work. And that
Yeah.
doesn't even account for taxes.
Yeah. Well, like we were never like as far as like that kind of stuff, we were never taxed on it because I don't know what he
But
did. We just weren't.
right,
But
but even if he classifies you as an independent contractor, even if he classifies you that way, he still has to report that, and then you have to pay the taxes on it. But from what I'm hearing so far, and what I'm probably guessing is you never signed anything, did you?
I mean, I have access like I have on my screen like contracts, but I properly never signed a contract. I have every bit of contract information though.
But 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 okay, hold on. Did he say here is your employment contract?
No.
Okay,
No.
okay. If he didn't say that, then technically he never hired you because he has to get your signature, get your tax information, your social security number, your driver's license / ID of some sort, so that because he's running a business and he has to report income and expenses. So either he pays his taxes on a quarterly basis or at the end of the year. That's how this works. And so, boy. Okay. So you weren't paid. Argument, side project. So what was the final event that he fired you / you quit?
Honestly, there was none. I went to go do my job, right? I knew that the players were in scrim, so I just wanted to see if there's anything I could do while they're in it, kind of that needed to be done. Because in a sense, it was kind of like that window of everyone's doing something. This is the best time to get stuff out. So when they're done, there's new stuff to do, right?
Right.
And I didn't have access to any of the stuff that I used to have, and I was like, okay, like this is weird. What's up? So then I go and I see that I'm removed of basically all of my permissions, right? Like literally everything. No word about it. It's just one day it's there, one day it's not, right? And then I was like, okay, that's weird. Like never heard anything from him. None of the players knew anything. Like none of the players that I talked to like knew that I was gone and or like why I was gone, right? Like they obviously noticed, they just didn't know like, oh, why is Jackson not here anymore, right? And at that point, I was like, it wasn't worth it trying to fight it. And I was like, well, I just don't want to be here anymore. Then, like, it's obvious like, they don't want me. I'm not gonna try to fight for my spot back. I'm out. And then I just cut all ties with Gabe and the players for a period of time because I just didn't want that association anymore. I just didn't want the like no matter how much I loved. And I think in my tweet when I left, I specifically stated I wish success to here. Let me find it so I can be
No, it's okay.
accurate
It's
for
all right. You don't got
yeah.
it. you don't have to play nice. You've done a very good job of being forthright. I'm the one that's probably overreacting here. But okay, and so he just takes away your permissions, and you're like, I can't do anything more. So do you send him a DM?
No, I just genuinely just cut all ties with them in that instance. I knew that whatever I was going to say was going to be pointless. I didn't want to necessarily put up with the headache that would be,
Right.
and I just figured a loss is like they're gonna
Right.
lose. Like I know that since I'm so young, my window or my
Yeah.
ability to grow is high, right? And I mean, genuinely speaking,
Yeah.
when I left, they had like, or when I was there, they had like a 75% like chance of getting to top 2 events. When I was gone,
Mm-hmm.
turned to like a 20. Just gonna say that I just had an effect in that. I'm just
Right. And I'm
direct causation, like correlation.
direct
Me
correlation.
good, me no, no
Right,
bad.
and I'm just gonna say, I bet your girlfriend's also pretty happy now too, right?
Yeah, now I'm not completely obligated to be there all the time, so now I can. So I mean, she's like, "Oh no, that sucks. Let's watch a movie." I'm like, "Okay,
Let's watch a movie and have
watching a
some
movie."
popcorn. Yes, of
Yeah,
course.
I
Whatever
was like,
movie
"Okay."
you'd like.
Yeah, I was like, I think we ended up
Oh,
watching Spider-Man the day of
wow,
the original. So
wow.
I
Yeah,
mean,
okay. So from all of this, I mean, and this happens in 6 weeks. Okay, 6 weeks time.
mhm,
What are I mean, there's a lot to learn here.
mhm.
But what are 2 or 3 things that you personally learned that going forward, I'm not going to let this happen again?
Well, like one, I like the amount of connections and like a lot of basically from everything that I talked to with everyone there, I learned basically a lot of new do's and don'ts. For example, don't go anywhere if you're not getting a piece of paper and you know they have money. So, like I've turned down a lot of offers for like different organizations
Mm-hmm.
because like they didn't have like clauses that I thought would like fit me well. Like it was like there was one and it was like, well, you can get a kind of in a sense a percentage of all that we make within a year, not like and it was like assets, not even like pure like money. It was like just overall assets. And I was like, I don't want an end of year because like you can make $1 and I get a penny,
Right.
right? Like I
Right.
don't want that. I want something that's a bit more like even if it's $1 a day, like I'll take that over the potential, right? So that's one thing is like never go anywhere with money if you aren't being paid a direct portion of that.
Okay.
Um, Another thing is like definitely like put your kind of feelings aside. Like for me, a lot of it was feeling based. Like I wanted this. Like it was a want more so. I wanted to succeed. This is where I thought it would be,
Mm-hmm.
and I was kind of I guess I kind of like blindsided myself because I
Mm-hmm.
put that thought process over literally those first 3 days, and I continue to go along with it. So if you think it's suspicious, like I've left teams like in the first few days. I was like, I don't like the environment. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't want to be here. And then
Okay.
I was out. Like no hate to those people that I left or have like sent me that kind of stuff because one, it takes a lot of courage to do something like that. Like just send like an offer out in general.
Right.
And two, like I know because of how new it is, like a lot of them will have chances in the pro league. And I'm like, no hate to you guys. It's just the combined everything. Like I don't want to go through it again.
Got it.
So
Okay.
those are really my only two do's and don'ts, I guess,
Okay.
or three, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, Jackson, I have to say that I'm grateful that you made time for me.
mhm,
I can I'm also grateful that you're coming out of this with a lot of good lessons learned, and that you're not bitter about things. I've always believed in the power of gaming, whether you're playing on the competitive side or if it's more of a community concept. Um, I do love, I do love the potential that gaming has. Unfortunately, right now there are people in the industry, and it sounds like Gabe. Like I said, if you're out there and you're hearing me, you have an open invitation to come talk to me on this podcast, and I will listen to whatever you have to say. And I'm going to ask you about everything that Jackson just said, because some of the stuff that he says you're doing, some of the stuff that it sounds like when I listen down to what's going on, I'm not impressed. But I am impressed with you, Jackson. I'm thankful more and more for people like you, because when people like you are around, I believe gaming is in good hands. So thank you very much for making time for me today. I appreciate it.
I don't know. I mean, it was awesome being able to just come out here and kind of share like my side of the story. I mean, it was. I think gaming just needs to learn its lesson as far as like owners need to know like stuff like there's going to be a point where people aren't going to tolerate it anymore.
Right.
Exactly what happened with the MMG people. They couldn't tolerate the lack of contact with Gabe, and they decided that they didn't want to be with MMG anymore.
Yeah.
And like I think for everybody who's listening, if you aspire to be a player, if you aspire to be an owner, if you aspire to be anything, like just please watch your back at all times.
Please
like, that's
do.
my genuine piece of advice. Like watch your back at all. Like so many people, like not even Gabe wise, so many people will try to scam you out of anything they can as far as like work, as far as content. Just and make sure that you're getting the better of the deal and not them. And
awesome. All right, everybody, please like, share, subscribe to this episode. I hope to have more soon. This is a great, fantastic story. You'll see it on YouTube. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'll see you soon.
Thank you for tuning in today. You can find links to everyone on the show in the description below. Check out Bill the Conqueror on Twitch and Twitter to stay up to date on his thoughts and ideas about gaming culture.